Berryhill, the original curator for the museum. We had the cars grouped in Tupelo in an old factory that manufactured men's clothing, and we decided we were going to have that building reconditioned, and the cost of doing that, we could go somewhere else. The city helped us along to decide to come over here to this location. We had a trip that we had to make to Las Vegas, and I was told at the starting of the trip that I had to have a building designed by the time we got to Las Vegas. So this building was pretty much designed by the time we did get to Las Vegas, and it was done at 39,000 feet on an airplane on the back of a throw-up bag. So that's how this building come to be. Across the street in the old Risotto building, I had probably 120 or so of the cars over there, where the majority of them were gathered up at that building. Some from Florida, some from California. We had half of the small rental garages in Tupelo full of cars. We were in the process of building and gathering the cars a couple of years before that. Some of the cars we had hauled in by professional car haulers, but a lot of them were driven in. I remember one that Frank and Jane had gone to Alaska, 54 Mercury, and they bought that car and drove it back down the Alcan Highway. And somewhere around Whitehorse, Yukon Territory, the car broke down. And Frank called me and said he needed parts. So I got in touch with Napa, and I needed a generator, I needed a voltage regulator. One of them was in Atlanta, the other one was in Miami. And we had them FedEx to Whitehorse. And Frank put them on the car, and here they come. This is probably my favorite of the whole collection. It's a 1912 white. It's a gas burning car. Prior to this, they were making steam cars up until about 1908. But anyway, the reason this is my favorite car, it's totally original. Paint, pinstriping, everything about it but the tires, as far as I know, has been on the car since birth. And either the parts to make it go is on the car, or it's in that box of spare parts. It's the earliest one that I know of we had in here that is all electric. Illumination. Before that, the headlights were powered by acetylene gas. Some of them used a tank of acetylene to power the lights, and others used calcium carbide and a water drip to manufacture the acetylene gas. The car is all there. Even the pinstriping on the fenders original. The signs that you see in here, there's over 500 of those, and they were all laying out here in the middle of the floor in a pile. And I got to thinking about how I was going to do that and make it random. And so the plan was to have one person locate every sign. And he would pick the sign out and where it was to go. We had a crew that was putting them up as we went along, but had one person that was locating the signs. And we started in one corner and went around the building. When we got back, we were out of signs, and they were all on the wall. We found the car advertised in may have been Wall Street Journal, I'm not sure about that. But anyway, it was in St. Louis, and it had matching numbers, and it was a prime candidate to be restored. So the guy still owed money on it, and it was in the hands of a bank in St. Louis. And I flew up there one day and made the car purchase, and then Frank and I, maybe a couple of weeks later, went back and picked the car up. But it's a 812 Cord, has a V8 Lycoming engine on it. The motor is in the car backwards. Really fancy automobile for its day. The guy, when we got the car, the guy that designed the car was still alive. And we went to the factory where the car was made, and they still had the clay model for that car in that museum. It's in Auburn, Indiana. We'd gone to Indianapolis that year, and they used one of them as the pace car. And when we got back, Frank ordered him one. He was impressed with the design of the car. When it came in, the people at the local Dodge dealer called him and told him his car was there and come pick it up. He said, "No, don't crank it. Put it on the record and bring it to me." So I've never heard the car run. Last car in that row is a Trumbull. Mm-hmm. And that car was, first time I saw it was in the airport in Las Vegas. And I thought it was a unique little car. And it disappeared. They took it out of the airport when they sold Harrow's car collection. And the next time I saw it was in Indiana at an auction up there. And I told Frank, I said, "Well, we got to have that car." And so he bought it for me. I was working for RCA Service Company, and he was reworking Channel 9. And they built a tower down at Woodland, and they were in process of putting the antenna on that tower. And as part of the contract, when they bought something like that, they got a field tech to come and stay with it until it was installed. Well, I was the field tech, and I got notified to show up down there, and I'm on my way to the transmitter building, and this guy is on a D6 Caterpillar dragging about a 3,000 foot cable down the middle of the road, and he wouldn't get out of my way to let me by. So when I get down to the transmitter building, I asked to meet Mr. Spain, and they said, "Well, he's on that Caterpillar." I said, "So he's the idiot that wouldn't get out of my way." And that's how we got started. I believe it was a Triumph that he bought and restored it. And I don't know whether he sold the car or I don't know what happened to it. But anyway, they kind of got him started collecting old cars. One thing led to another. We had 6 cars, and then there was 10 cars and 20 cars. It was, a lot of them were in Palm Springs, California. Finally got all those gathered up back here in Tupelo. Never knew when you were going to run out of gas with Frank. He tried to do that at least once during every trip. Frank's trait. He was also a pilot. Never knew him to run one of those. Anything had wings on it, he wouldn't run it very low on fuel, but cars, he'd run them out of gas. He was a character. Made sure I've got a little canvas bag. It's a mechanic's tool bag. It's issued by the Air Force. And I had one of those with a few hand tools in it. And Frank always swore that I could overhaul a nuclear submarine with what I had in that bag. And so he'd tell me, get my little bag and come on. I'd get a phone call, and the next plane, didn't matter where that plane was going, but the next plane I was on it. I remember going to, I guess I was trying to get on a plane in Atlanta, and I had that tool bag with me. And Delta Airlines decided that I couldn't get on that plane with that tool bag. And I said, well, I'm willing to let you put this bag anywhere you want to in that plane. But when I get there and step off of the plane, I've got to have that bag. And they have a customer service corps that's called the Redcoats. And I requested a red coat. The guy came down and I told him my deal, and he decided they could accommodate me. They let me on that plane with a toolkit. They didn't like my long screwdriver is what it was. I'm not going to do Frank any good if I hadn't got that tool bag, you know.